The Shift is brought to you by SE Healthcare. Welcome to The Shift. I'm Dr. Andrea Coyle. Hi, Shifties. Welcome back to the next episode of the Shift podcast. As you know, The Shift was created by a nurse for a nurse. Often we have nurses on the show. Sometimes we have friends of nurses. Today, we're blessed to have an incredible, amazing, genuine nurse that's going to, number one, introduce herself and then talk about her burnout journey and then what she did to get out of that burnout space. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce Dr. Megan Carter. Megan, take it away.
Andrea, thank you so much for having me. And please do call me Megan. Dr. Carter's for formal settings. So, yes, absolutely. I'm so excited. I love your podcast. You've had so many incredible guests. So I'm honored to be included in that list of names. So, thank you for letting me be here.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. And thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Megan, I know a lot about you. We've met a couple times. And then, of course, I stalk you on LinkedIn and social media because that's what we do these days.
That's what we do.
And for the Shifties, just give an introduction. I know you've done so many great things in your career and you continue to do great things. Just give the Shifties a little intro on Dr. Megan Carter.
Can I first say how amazing that your group is called the Shifties? I just recently heard you refer to that, and that's brilliant marketing. Just number one, love this.
Well,
So
hey,
yeah.
Megan, just so you know, we have merchandise. The next time we connect, I'll give you a Shifty hat. We have
I
hats.
can't wait.
Yes. And
Oh my
we're gonna,
gosh.
I know, right? We
You've
gotta
made
blow
my
out.
day. I love swag. Give me swag all day long.
Oh my God. We have Shifty swag. And here's the thing. I want to surpass Taylor Swift and her Swifties.
Oh, I love that. That's a great
Shifty.
goal. Yes, I would love to see that for you. That's awesome. Yeah, just real quick about me. So I jokingly tell people I identify as a recovering hospital executive. So I been a nurse for 20 years, started out in step down and critical care, cardiovascular care. I've been a charge nurse educator, supervisor, manager, director, and then most recently an associate chief nursing officer at 5 different hospitals around the country. So have dipped my toes in many different orgs and cultures and learned a lot. I got my bachelor's and master's from UT Arlington and my doctorate in executive leadership from the amazing Duke University School of Nursing, fabulous program. I actually pivoted from my traditional nurse exec trajectory in August of 23. I chose to take a 6 month sabbatical because I was dealing with extreme burnout, compassion fatigue, PTSD at that time. And instead of going back into the traditional workforce, I decided to take a stab at being an entrepreneur. So I opened my company, MC Healthcare Consulting, in January of 24. And all I do full time now, Andrea, is what I love, which is I go around the country and I do speaking and workshops where I help healthcare leaders get protected time every week to focus on their teams. And I love on the clinicians through some time motion work that I do as well to give them back more time at the bedside with their patients. And all of this is in an effort to help heal a very broken healthcare system. So 18 months into my entrepreneur journey, learning a lot as I go, and just so incredibly excited to meet people like you along the way.
Well, I want to say congratulations for taking that leap of faith. It's truly a leap of faith when we make these shifts in our careers. And that's part of the reason, Megan, that I wanted to call this the shift, because as nurses, and I believe all nurses are leaders, we're always
Absolutely.
making a shift. If I'm the critical care nurse, I have to shift sometimes and pick up a third patient. I would have to shift sometimes and float to another unit.
Yeah.
And then when you become a manager, a director, an ACNO, a CNO, it is constant shift. And that's really the crux of why I called this the shift. And by nature, most nurses are shift workers, 8 hour shifts, 12-hour shifts, weekend shifts. And I also thought about the shift and how in that 8 or 12-hour shift, our clinical care, our direct care nurses, how they make a shift, and that shift impacts a patient and the patient's families and the healthcare team. So there's a lot of purpose behind why
Yeah.
we called it the shift. Can I say
Yeah.
a couple things? You said Duke. So the
Yeah.
great Melissa Fitzpatrick, Duke, I have to say, like, go Duke, because she's a big Duke fan. So
Yes.
thank you,
Yes.
Melissa, a fellow Shifty. And then Can you tell us how, when you first recognized you were feeling burned out, and what did that feel like to you? Because burnout shows up different in everybody.
Yeah. So it was interesting with me because I was picking up on cues from my peer leaders and colleagues thinking that it wasn't burnout. So I spent a long time looking back now, I can see that burnout started for me really as a nurse manager. So that was 12 years ago. And I just kept saying and thinking and hearing messaging that this is just the job. This is what it is. It's not the job, it's you. You just need to become more resilient. That's our favorite buzzword, right? It's turning into a bit of a curse word now for nurses. But you need to be more resilient, or you're just learning, it'll get better. It didn't. It didn't get better. It got harder. So I had a pretty traumatic experience as a nurse manager that was specific to that situation. That's not necessarily reflective of other orgs. And then it continued as a director. I kept going back to school. So I went back for my master's. That was really tough. I had a little toddler at home and my husband, trying to balance being a mom, a wife, a leader, having 24/7 responsibility, and get my graduate degree was just about killed me. And what I was seeing is, number one, I wasn't present at home with my family. I'd get home in my mind, all that was going on was what was happening at work. When's my phone going to ring? When am I going to get a 2 a.m. text? And it happened on a regular basis. Oh my gosh, I have to post in the discussion board for school. Just trying to carry all of that and then also maintain on the outside. It felt like there was this expectation of smile, nod, everything's okay. And I think I felt that as a leader because I had to remain cool, calm, collected so that my team would feel cool, calm, collected. So I didn't really do anything about it. When I got the promotion to director, same story, different faces and names. And then I, like a person who's a sucker for punishment, I went back for my doctorate in 2019. All of this kept building up inside me. And then, of course, the event we no longer speak of happened in 2020. So halfway through my DNP journey, when I'm ready to implement my project, it hit. And I happened to be the director of all of critical care and respiratory for my big hospital, the receiving center. So that hit. And I mean, my burnout went from burnout to full blown PTSD, just like, all the clinicians certainly doing the work, the leaders who were caught in the middle were having meetings every hour and were being told different information, ran out of ventilators, ran out of PPE, don't have enough staff. Staff were getting sick. We lost staff. Like it just snowballed. And then when I moved to Texas in 2020 and helped lead another hospital through the pandemic as an executive this time, all of this to say the pattern was I knew something was wrong, that I was not okay, but I never stopped to really address it. And I think it's because, one, I was afraid to admit I was struggling because I didn't want to seem weak to my peers or to my staff. And two, I was afraid that once I opened that can of worms, that once I pulled the lid back on that, I wouldn't be able to stop it. And I knew that I had to show up to work and I had to be by my best self. So I just let it keep going. So this is 10 years of ignoring what my body is telling me not being present. I was ended up on a blood pressure medication. I ended up on anxiety medication. I gained weight. I was miserable. I wasn't sleeping. So physical, spiritual, emotional, all of that. And so finally in August of 23, I said, enough's enough. I'm digging myself an early grave. I need to take a break.
Good for you. First of all, thank you for being very vulnerable with all the shifties. It's interesting. We have a very similar story.
Yeah.
I got my bachelor's, went back to get my master's. I had two small children. I was an interim nurse manager, transitioning into a director of professional excellence. And then, like you, decided, oh, I need my DMP, so I might as well do that. And that thing we don't talk about. Did you graduate in 2022 or 2021?
21.
Me
Mhm.
too. So
Oh my gosh.
2021
Yep.
and I had it midstream, everything got different to do our clinicals and all that
Yep.
work to get the DMP.
Yep.
And I think um I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't know how to say I'm not okay. And Bob Dent's been one of the guests on the shift, and we always talk
Love him.
about it's okay to not be okay. And I actually
Absolutely.
went to EAP. I
Yeah.
went to EAP and we had allotted so many per year, and I maxed out on mine. And I too was like on blood pressure medicine,
Yep.
anxiety. I had such severe anxiety that I was getting like 3 hours of sleep in 48 hours. I was literally coming unhinged.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. I always talk about name it, claim it, tame it. And I didn't know how to
Yeah.
name it, claim it, or tame it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's so real. And I love that you have that phrase for it because it is, we have a culture as nurses of celebrating martyrdom. And I'm sure it started with the best of intentions, self-sacrifice and service of others. Absolutely. But what that pandemic taught us was, by the way, if you do that to an extreme, you're no longer available to help other people. And so what is the balance? And the first step is name it. Name it.
That's right.
Call it what it is. I'm not okay. And Gen Z does a really great job of this. They say, not only am I not okay, I'm not going to tolerate work environments that promote martyrdom, that promote burnout. And I'm here for it. I mean, I'm here for it. They need to disrupt it. We're not okay. They've watched all of us burn out and, struggle. We need disrupting. It's a good thing.
We do absolutely. And I call myself the hustle culture.
Yeah.
When I was a clinical nurse, if they needed, and call me up, hey Andrea, can you work an extra shift? I was the first.
Yeah.
I worked all the time, and I loved it, but I didn't realize that I wasn't making or taking that time for myself. And in
Yeah.
that hustle culture, um, I also struggle with boundaries. And if you don't have
Right.
boundaries, that sets yourself up for burnout. What I've learned in my speaking presentations across the country as well is often millennials and the Gen Zs,
Yeah.
they have no problem saying, I'm not picking up an extra shift.
Yeah.
Not a problem. Not me. I did that. I was the hustle culture.
Yeah.
And
Same.
you just have to get to a point in your career where you have to find what brings you joy.
Yep.
And it's hard. And I don't know if you think, what do you think about type A, type B personalities? Some people don't like to label them type A, type B, but I'm an overachiever. And I think overachievers often will burn the candle at both ends.
Yeah. Yeah. It really comes back to the concept of our values, our internal values in the setting of our external work world. And when you layer in, our profession and our culture and our history, and we're proud to be nurses, we're proud to, and in the service of others to sacrifice ourselves. However, it is time for a shift. Your favorite word, it's time for a shift. We're burned out. Our workforce shortage is very real. The data is very clear. We need to shift it. So we need to start acknowledging it, normalizing conversations around it like you're doing right now, and then and supporting each other instead of judging each other for taking the time away or doing the healing.
You hit the nail on the head with don't judge.
Right.
You can't judge because burnout manifests differently in everyone. The other thing is fascinating is when I again go across the country, I do often hear, I'm not going to say often, Megan, but sometimes hear nurse leaders say burnout, our turnover rates, you know, 6%. So my team's not burned out. Burnout, I don't even like the word burnout. And to
Yeah.
me, that's when I go back to the name it, claim it, tame it. First of all,
Yeah.
if you read anything in AONL, ANA, any journal, burnout's real. And
Yep.
there are the three cardinal symptoms of burnout. And sometimes 50 to 60% of nurses are experiencing at least one, if not two, of those cardinal symptoms of burnout.
Yeah.
I do get, because I am on a personal mission to create a culture of burnout awareness and burnout management.
Yeah.
That's why I work for SE Healthcare. We
Yeah.
help measure burnout. We identify root causes for leaders so they can create prioritized action plans. We help name it, tame it, claim it. And hopefully when people like yourself come on and we have these discussions,
Yeah.
it helps people sit back for a minute and say, ooh, that sounds like me. What can I do so that I don't completely burn out and leave the profession altogether?
100%. Because we need you. You're precious. Take care of yourself, friend. We need you.
I'm
Yeah.
with you. Can
Yeah.
you share, did anyone ever pull you aside when you were the ACNO, the director, the manager, and say, Megan, you're not yourself. What's going on?
Nope. Because I hit it really, really well.
Mhm.
In fact, when I decided to make the pivot, it really surprised my leader and the team. They had no idea, and she actually felt guilty that she didn't know how much I was struggling and how much I was suffering. Of course, it's not hers to own. It's not to blame. I was a master of high functioning anxiety. High functioning, high performer. Work the long hours. I'm always here, ready to go. Answer the phone. Wasn't healthy at all. And I think we're maybe, I don't know if it's a, female thing or nurse thing, whatever it is, but I think that's a pattern for a lot of high achieving, people in service-based industries where we celebrate. You need to look like you've got it all together. And also, if you're struggling, deal with it on your own time kind of deal. And so no one even knew I was struggling to even have that conversation.
One of my episodes with Fred, who is a nurse out of Kansas, he was a life flight, he used to be a life flight nurse, and he told his
Yeah.
story. He gets choked up about this story, so I hope people will listen when his episode airs.
Yeah.
And he actually reflected and said, Andrea, I wish at that time he arrived on scene and there were twin girls, and one of the twin girls didn't survive, and they were children, and it was
Oh,
traumatic. And he
of
actually gets
course.
choked up telling the story. And he
Yeah.
said, Andrea, after that event, I just went
Yeah.
right back to work.
Yeah.
No one pulled me aside to say,
Right.
that must have been so hard.
Yeah.
Do you need to talk to someone? I had a horrifying experience. Um, Actually, when I was an assistant director and my life was endangered by a patient.
Yeah.
And I went home that night and I couldn't sleep. I was the director on call and I had to respond.
Yeah.
I went home that night, couldn't sleep. The next day I went to work and my supervisor said, I want to tell you that you could have really got hurt. I want to tell you everything that you did wrong not to keep yourself safe. And I thought to myself, this is part of the culture that we've created.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, this burnout thing, it's real. And that's why I value you. I value the work that you're doing. Um,
Same.
that's why I'm so glad that you're joining me on this. It's a call to action.
Yeah,
It's really a call to
absolutely.
action.
It takes all of us to disrupt it. And it's honestly, as you say that, Andrea, it's the heart of this movement I've started. It's the chaos whisper movement. And I call it that because anybody who's ever worked in healthcare is by nature a chaos whisperer. We thrive and function on pure chaos. We never know what we're going to see in our shift. We never know what's going to happen. We have to be ready for anything. And just like you'd take a code blue and you have a team leader running that code blue, excusing the people who don't need to be in there, assigning roles, we're dealing with it. We need to do that to our healthcare system, in my mind. And so I call it the chaos whisper movement. So from a leadership perspective, what I now do in my workshops to help these leaders address burnout, compassion, fatigue is we triage their calendars. You should not be in meetings all day every day. Let's triage those, remove the non-value add. The ones that are left, let's streamline those too. You don't need a full hour to talk about this. Let's cut it to 30 minutes, drive action in between. All of that to give you protected time on your calendar where you need to be out in your clinical departments, spending intentional, meaningful time with your staff and saying, how are you really doing? I've got time. Let's talk. Really bonding with them and making them feel seen, valued, and heard. That's what's going to heal our system. That's what's going to let nurses know they're safe to stay in that organization. If someone, and we know the studies are very clear, the literature is super clear, nurses will stay when they feel seen, valued, and heard. And the only way to do that is for that leader to have protected time to do those important activities. Our leaders are stuck in survival mode. You think of Maslow's hierarchy, that pyramid, and this will come out in a publication later this year, but I took that pyramid and I put nurse leader activities in it. And at the bottom are simple things: payroll, schedule, the basics you have to get done, meetings. At the very top of it are those innovation, transformational leadership, those things you hear about at these conferences. These leaders are stuck in the bottom two layers. They cannot process or implement what's at the top of that pyramid until we get them unstuck from the basic things. They're like firefighters coming into work every day with an extinguisher on both hips. That's not healthy for them. It absolutely contributes to burnout. It absolutely is why nurse managers in their first 2 years leave the profession altogether. The literature is very clear on that. We have to help give them tools and culture and permission and empowerment to say no to additional things coming on their plate and to help them prioritize their people first. That is the Chaos Whisper movement, and that's all I do full time now. And it's because of what I went through as a leader.
And I love that you took your experience and you're shifting it into something that's going to make a tremendous, tremendous impact. I've had a couple of discussions with nurse leaders in the past couple of weeks, and we keep talking about the human experience. This
Yeah.
is truly the human experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're all human.
Yep.
And I don't know if you think what I'm curious what your thoughts, because you said something in the very beginning about service and servant.
Hmm.
Do you feel like sometimes different leadership styles contribute to more burnout?
Oh, absolutely. I literally just interviewed someone on my podcast yesterday, and all we talked about was toxic leadership, the definition of it, the statistics around how it contributes to turnover, burnout. Obviously, it's not specific, it's not limited to healthcare. This exists, in every industry. But toxic leadership and the literature is interesting because, as he pointed out, sometimes the leader doesn't even realize they are toxic. Certainly the person reporting to them picks up on it, but are they empowered to say anything? Do they feel comfortable? There's a power dynamic, a gradient there. It's hard to speak up. So yeah, there are definitely, and I've had some really great leaders and I've had some toxic leaders. And I can tell you, if you look at my resume, the shorter length, the shorter tenure were people I was reporting to that were not supportive. And I left because I couldn't thrive there. So absolutely, that exists.
Well, you said something that just made me think of something. When we think about Maslow's hierarchy, you think about, innovation. If we want to advance the profession of nursing,
Mhm.
if we want to thrive in this healthy work environment, we've got to help nurse leaders create time to be innovative, to be thought leaders, to
Correct.
meet with their staff and the patients and make
Yep.
these meaningful connections. That's the human experience that I keep talking about. But if
Yep.
we're stuck in these tasks all day long,
Audits, our
audits,
favorite thing, right? We love to audit ourselves to death in healthcare. Why can't AI take care of that for us? That's what AI is for. Why can't we automate and streamline some of these? That nurse leader needs to spend quality time with their clinicians. Get them.
and grow and develop them as well.
Yes,
That's, this is going to be a really good discussion for the next time you come on because I'm asking you for a second date. Can we go on a second date?
totally. Yes, you're so sweet.
I just think that these are great, great discussions, and I'm just so proud to walk alongside you in
Same.
this leadership journey that we're all on. So, Megan, at the end of every episode, we always share a few lessons learned or takeaways for the shifties. What two or three things would you want to share with the shifties as a takeaway?
Sure. So, the most practical tip that changed my life as a leader, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling burned out and overwhelmed, was an exercise where I just brain dumped all of my tasks, my meetings, my committees. I would just literally put them in a Word document. You can handwrite it, whatever. And I organized it a little bit. And then I brought it to my leader and said, hey, here's everything that's currently on my plate by task, by committee, by project. What do you and I think my top 5 to 10 priorities should be together? Let's have that conversation. You need to initiate it. And my leader every time was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad we're having this conversation. Your top 5 should be people, quality, whatever, this project, this audit, this regulatory situation, whatever. Say, great. You need to bring that document with you at every one-to-one and reevaluate on a regular basis because you are only human. You can only do so much in a day, and it's not realistic for these nurse leaders to do all things for all people. And that's what they've been asked to do for so long. You can extend this to the whole group. Have all the nurse managers brain dump their tasks. Have all the directors. Have everybody come together and it's not rocket science. Just brain dump everything. Come together as a group. Decide what your top 10 are, and then moving forward as you're in meetings with leaders of other departments who want to add something to your plate, right? Because nursing owns everything. Bring up the document and say, hey, I'm the CNO, I'm the ACNO, I'm the director. Hey, we told our managers and supervisors their top 10 are this. Your new request, we would love to accommodate it. And in order to make room for it, we need to pause or delete one of these others. And let's have that dialogue. So before we even leave the meeting, we all have a clear understanding. For example, the managers need to take on this new audit. We've paused this old survey process, or we've paused this other meeting to give them time and space. Make it a normal part of your day-to-day conversations. And it's really helped me a lot. My leaders loved it. My executive leaders really loved it because they can't know everything that's on your plate. We get frustrated because they don't understand. It's your job to show them everything you've got on your plate. It's a good exercise for you as well. So I would highly recommend creating a top 5 to 10 in that exercise. It will change your life. Absolutely.
I think that's great advice. And I think it's a great exercise in self-reflection.
Yes.
I really like that. Megan, I cannot thank you enough. Shifties, if you have a chance, follow Megan on LinkedIn. Her work is incredible. She's going to come back on the shift. We also talked about maybe teaming up and doing some work together. So stay tuned. The best is yet to come. And shifties, remember, your shift makes a difference. Keep shifting. Enjoying the shift? Help us reach more nurse leaders by rating and reviewing us on your podcast app. It takes just a minute, but makes a big impact. Search for The Shift, tap those stars, and share what you love. Your feedback shapes our future episodes and helps others discover us. Remember, rate, review, and amplify The Shift today.